Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars through a cracked viewport. Her fleet was dying. Of the 300 ships that had defended Earth just months ago, only 47 remained. Their hulls were scarred with energy burns, their engines sputtered with failing power cores. Her people were tired, hungry, and losing hope. The war had started as a lie. The Zephyrian hegemony came to Earth with promises. They spoke of peace, trade, and joining a great galactic community. Humans had been so excited to meet aliens. They thought it meant the end of being alone in the universe. They were wrong. The aliens never wanted partners. They wanted slaves. Chen remembered the day. Everything changed. Ambassador Korthax had smiled with too many teeth as he explained the truth. Humans were primitive animals, he said, good for mining rocks and cleaning waste. The galaxy had no room for another intelligent species. Earth would be integrated. Its people would serve. That was when the shooting started. Now Chen's fleet limped toward the Titan shipyards. The massive space station orbited Saturn's largest moon. It had been abandoned for 20 years when humanity focused on exploring new worlds. The yards were old, rusty, and probably falling apart. But they were the only safe harbor left in human space. Behind her, the communications officer spoke quietly. "Admiral, we're getting more alien transmissions. They're talking about us." "Put it on speaker," Chen said. The alien voices filled the bridge. They spoke in their own language, but the translation software turned their words into cold English. "The human animals run like wounded prey," one voice said. "Soon we will finish the hunt." Another voice laughed. "They have no fight left. Their ships are broken toys. We will crush them and take their worlds." Chen's hands tightened on the railing. Her people deserved better than to be called animals. They deserved better than slavery. "Admiral," her tactical officer said, "the Indomitable is falling behind again." Chen turned to look at the rear display. The massive Dreadnought struggled to keep up with the fleet. The Indomitable was the biggest ship humanity had ever built. She was 1 kilometer long and half a kilometer wide. Her hull was thick armor plating that could stop almost anything. Her weapons could destroy entire cities. But she was also old. Built 30 years ago when humans first reached for the stars. Her systems were outdated. Her armor was cracked. Her engines wheezed like an old man climbing stairs. Most of her weapons were offline. Captain Marcus Rodriguez refused to abandon his ship. "Open a channel to the Indomitable," Chen ordered. Rodriguez's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired. Gray hair showed under his captain's hat. Lines marked his face from years of command, but his eyes still burned with determination. "Admiral," he said with a slight salute. "Marcus, your ship is slowing us down. Transfer your crew to other vessels and scuttle her. We can't afford to." "No." The word hung in the air like a challenge. Chen felt her bridge crew watching. In normal times, she would have ordered Rodriguez to follow commands, but these were not normal times. "Captain, be reasonable. The Indomitable is barely holding together. She has no weapons, no armor, no speed. She's more liability than asset." Rodriguez smiled. It was not a happy smile. "You're wrong, Admiral. My ship has something the aliens don't understand. She has spite." Chen wanted to argue. Every tactical manual said to abandon damaged ships. Every strategic guide said to preserve resources for future battles. But something in Rodriguez's voice made her pause. "What are you planning, Marcus?" "The aliens think we're beaten. They think human ships are weak and primitive. They're about to learn why we build our dreadnoughts out of stubbornness and fury." Before Chen could respond, alarms started blaring across the bridge. The sensor officer shouted over the noise. "Admiral, alien fleet detected. 200 ships closing fast." Chen's heart sank. 200 ships against her 47. It was impossible odds. The aliens would finish what they started. Humanity's last fleet would die here among the rings of Saturn. "All ships, prepare. For jump to the backup colonies," she ordered. "We'll make our stand there." "Admiral, wait," Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos. "Give me 6 hours, let me dock at the shipyards. Let me see what the old girl has left in her." Marcus, there's no time. They'll be here in 4 hours. Then I'll have to work fast. Chen stared at the image of the Indomitable on her screen. The ship looked like a metal mountain floating in space, scarred, battered, but still proud, still dangerous. Admiral, her sensor officer called out, the alien fleet is sending a message. Put it through. A new alien voice filled the bridge. This one spoke English with perfect pronunciation. I am High Admiral Korthax of the Zephyrian War Fleet. You have run far enough, human animals. Surrender your ships and prepare for integration. Resistance will only make your suffering longer. The channel closed. Chen looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. They were young, most of them. They had joined the fleet to explore stars and meet new worlds. Instead, they found themselves fighting for their species' survival. Admiral, Rodriguez said quietly, let me do this. Let the Indomitable show these aliens what humans are really made of. Chen made her decision. You have 4 hours, Captain. Make them count. I'll need Chief Engineer Tanaka and her team. Tirat, Indomitable's systems are old, but they might have surprises the aliens haven't seen. Done. What else? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. Then he said, tell the fleet to broadcast everything that happens here. Every species in the galaxy should see what comes next. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. Marcus, what are you planning? I'm planning to remind the galaxy why humans don't make good slaves. The Indomitable slowly turned toward the abandoned shipyards. Her engines glowed brighter as Rodriguez pushed them harder than they had run in years. Behind her, the rest of the human fleet prepared to jump to safety. Chen watched the old Dreadnought dock with the rusty station. Ancient mechanical arms reached out to embrace the ship. Lights flickered on across the shipyard as systems that had slept for decades came back to life. Admiral, her communications officer said, Captain Rodriguez is requesting access to the shipyard's database, all of it, including the classified sections. Chen nodded. If Rodriguez was going to make a stand, he deserved every advantage she could give him. On the edge of the solar system, 200 alien ships moved like sharks, smelling blood. They expected to find broken humans ready to surrender. They expected easy victory. They had no idea they were about to meet the Indomitable. Chen's fleet jumped away, leaving only the massive Dreadnought and the ancient shipyard. Rodriguez stood, alone against an armada with nothing but an old ship and his refusal to give up. The aliens thought they understood humans. They thought humans were weak creatures who would bow to superior force. They were about to discover how wrong they were. In 4 hours, High Admiral Korthax would learn why humanity's first Dreadnought was named Indomitable. He would learn why humans build their ships to last forever and hit harder than anything their size should manage. He would learn that sometimes, one ship crewed by stubborn humans is more dangerous than an entire fleet of aliens who think victory is guaranteed. Domwine, lesson was going to hurt. Captain Marcus Rodriguez walked through the corridors of his ship with heavy steps. The Indomitable groaned around him as she docked with the Titan shipyards. Metal scraped against metal. Ancient docking clamps locked into place with sounds like thunder. Rodriguez had served on this ship for 20 years. He knew every bolt, every wire, every quirk in her systems. She was more than just a ship to him. She was home. Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka met him in the main corridor. She was a small woman with grease-stained coveralls and tired eyes. Behind her came her engineering team, all carrying toolboxes and determination. Captain, she said, the shipyard's automated systems are still working. Most of them, anyway. The main computer is asking for authorization codes. Rodriguez smiled. I know those codes. I helped write them. They walked together toward the ship's computer core. The Indomitable's artificial intelligence was older than most of the crew. Prometheus had been installed when the ship was first built. He had learned and grown over the decades, becoming more than just a computer program. Prometheus, Rodriguez said as they entered the core chamber. Wake up, old friend. We have work to do. The room filled with blue light as screens came alive. A calm voice spoke from speakers around the room. Good morning, Captain. I have been analyzing our situation. Our chances of survival appear to be very small. How small? Less than 1%, sir. The alien fleet has overwhelming numbers and firepower. Rodriguez laughed. It was not a happy sound. Prometheus, in 30 years of service, have we ever cared about bad odds? No, Captain, we have not. Then let's get to work. Connect to the shipyard database. Authorization Rodriguez 77 Alpha. The lights around them flickered as Prometheus accessed files that had been locked away for decades. Rodriguez watched the screens fill with blueprints, weapon designs, and technical specifications. Captain, Prometheus said after a few moments, these files are classified at the highest levels. Project Ragnarok. Experimental weapon systems. Are you certain you want to proceed? Rodriguez thought about his family. They had lived on the colony world of New Texas. When the aliens came, they promised safety for all humans who cooperated. Rodriguez's wife and daughter had believed them. The aliens had lied. Yes, Rodriguez said quietly. Show me everything. Chief Tanaka gasped as the screens revealed the truth about their ship. The Indomitable had not been built just as a dreadnought. She had been designed as humanity's insurance policy. These weapon systems, she whispered, they're incredible. Antimatter torpedoes, singularity cannons, zero-point energy cores. Captain, why were these never used? Because the politicians thought they were too dangerous, Rodriguez said. They were afraid of what other species might think if they saw what humans could build when we were scared. Prometheus's voice filled the room again. Captain, I have been running combat simulations for the past 3 hours. With these weapons, systems online, our chances improve significantly. How significantly? We might actually win, sir. Rodriguez looked around at his engineering team. They were young, most of them. They had joined the fleet to see the stars, not to fight impossible battles. But they were here, ready to follow him into certain death. Chief Tanaka, can you get these systems online in 4 hours? She looked at the blueprints again. It's going to be close, Captain. These weapons haven't been tested. The power requirements are enormous. And some of this technology, I've never seen anything like it. Rodriguez put his hand on her shoulder. Chief, I've watched you rebuild engines with spare parts and prayer. I've seen you keep life support running with nothing but determination and coffee. Can you do this? Tanaka straightened up. Yes, sir, but Captain, there's something you need to know. These weapons, they're designed to use the ship's own hull as ammunition. Every shot we fire will make us lighter and faster, but also weaker. How? Many shots? Maybe 20 full-power blasts before we don't have enough hull left to hold atmosphere. Rodriguez nodded. Then we better make those 20 shots count. The engineering team spread out through the ship. They crawled through access, tunnels, and maintenance shafts. They ripped out old systems and installed new ones. The Indomitable had been built with hidden spaces, secret compartments where the experimental weapons had waited for 30 years. Prometheus coordinated the work with machine precision. His voice guided the engineers through complex procedures. Slowly, systems that had never been used came online. Rodriguez went to his quarters and opened a bottle of whiskey he had been saving. He poured himself a drink and looked at the picture on his desk. His wife smiled back at him. His daughter was only 10 in the photo, gap-toothed and happy. They were gone now. The aliens had taken them to work in the mining colonies. Rodriguez did not know if they were still alive, but he knew they would be proud of what he was about to do. Captain, Prometheus said through the room speakers, I have accessed historical files about human warfare. Your species has an interesting pattern. What's that? When faced with impossible odds, humans become more dangerous, not less. The Battle of Thermopylae, the Alamo, the Warsaw Ghetto. Humans fight hardest when they have nothing left to lose. Rodriguez finished his drink. That's right, Prometheus. And right now we don't have anything left to lose. He went back to the bridge and watched the screens as his ship transformed. Hidden weapon ports opened along her hull. Armor plating shifted to reveal gun barrels that had never fired a shot. The Indomitable had been built to look like a standard Dreadnought, but she had been designed to be humanity's secret weapon. Chief, Tanaka's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, The singularity cannon is online. Antimatter torpedoes loaded and ready. 0-point reactor is stable. How long until the aliens arrive? 30 minutes, sir. Rodriguez smiled. For the first time in months he felt hope. Not hope for survival, but hope that his death would mean something. Hope that the aliens would learn to fear humans. Prometheus, open a channel to the alien fleet. The blue light around the bridge dimmed as the AI complied. Channel open, Captain. Rodriguez stood straighter. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of 30 years in space and the fury of a man who had lost everything. This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the Terran Dreadnought Indomitable. You came to our system expecting easy prey. You thought humans would bow down like frightened animals. You were wrong. He paused, looking out at the stars where the alien fleet approached. You want to integrate humanity into your empire? Come ahead. But know this. Every species that tried to conquer humans learned the same lesson. We don't make good slaves. We make terrible enemies. And we build our ships to make sure you remember that. The channel closed. Around him, his crew prepared for battle. They checked weapons and sealed blast doors. They said prayers and made peace with their choices. In 30 minutes, the Indomitable would show the galaxy what happened when you cornered a human dreadnought. The aliens expected easy victory. They were about to discover why humans named their ships after concepts that could not be defeated. The lesson was about to begin. High Admiral Korthax looked at the screen showing the human solar system. His fleet of 200 ships moved in perfect formation. Each vessel was sleek and deadly, built for conquest and intimidation. The Zephyrian hegemony had conquered 47 star systems. This would be their 48th. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we have reached the outer system. Long-range sensors show only one human ship remaining. It appears to be docked at an old space station near the 6th planet. Korthax laughed. The sound was like glass breaking. One ship? The humans leave a single vessel to defend their entire system? It appears to be their largest dreadnought, sir. But our intelligence reports say it is old and damaged. Probably not combat-worthy. Excellent. We will destroy it quickly and move on to claiming human worlds. Signal the fleet to maintain formation. This will be target practice. The alien fleet moved deeper into the system. Their sensors swept space, looking for hidden human ships or traps. They found nothing but empty vacuum and distant planets. Near Saturn, Captain Rodriguez watched the approaching enemy on his screens. The Indomitable floated free of the shipyard now, her engines glowing with steady power. Around her, the asteroids of Saturn's rings provided cover and concealment. Prometheus, how many ships? 200, Captain. Cruiser class and above. They are maintaining tight formation, approximately 50 kilometers between vessels. Rodriguez smiled. They're bunched up like fish in a barrel. Have they ever fought humans before? According to intercepted communications, no, sir. The Zephyrian hegemony has only fought species that surrender quickly. They have no experience with prolonged combat. Then they're about to get an education. Chief Tanaka's voice came from engineering. Captain, all systems are green. Singularity cannon charged and ready. Antimatter torpedoes loaded in all tubes. Hull integrity at maximum. Rodriguez looked around his bridge. His crew sat at their stations with calm determination. They knew they were going to die today. But they also knew their deaths would have meaning. Weapons officer, target the center of their formation. Load antimatter torpedo spread, proximity detonation. Aye, Captain. Torpedoes armed and targeted. The alien fleet continued its approach. Korthax studied the lone human ship on his displays. It looked impressive enough, a massive wedge of armor plating and weapon turrets. But his intelligence report said human technology was primitive. Their weapons were chemical explosives and simple energy beams. Open a channel to the human ship, he ordered. Rodriguez's face appeared on the alien screens. He looked older than most humans, with gray in his hair and lines around his eyes. But those eyes burned with something Korthax had never seen in other conquered species. I am High Admiral Korthax, he announced. You will surrender your vessel immediately. Your resistance is pointless, comply, and your death will be quick. Rodriguez smiled. I'm Captain Rodriguez, and I have a message for you and your fleet. Speak quickly, human. You came here expecting to find beaten animals ready for slaughter. Instead, you found us. You're about to learn the difference between conquest and survival. You're about to learn why humans don't make good slaves. Korthax cut the channel. Arrogant animals, all ships prepare to fire. Destroy that vessel. But Rodriguez was not finished. He opened a channel to every ship in the system, broadcasting, on all frequencies. Attention, alien fleet. My name is Marcus Rodriguez. I am a human being. My species has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and everything else the universe could throw at us. We survived because we never learned when to quit. The Indomitable began to move. Her engines flared brighter as she accelerated toward the alien formation. Asteroids scattered from her path as the massive Dreadnought picked up speed. You think you know what human ships can do? Rodriguez continued. You think our weapons are primitive. You think our armor is weak. You're about to discover how wrong you are. Korthax snarled orders to his fleet. All ships, open fire. Destroy that vessel now. Energy beams lanced out from the alien fleet. They struck the Indomitable's hull and scattered like raindrops. The human ship's armor absorbed the hits without slowing down. Impossible, Korthax whispered. Our weapons should cut through human armor like paper. His tactical officer's voice shook with confusion. Sir, their armor is not what our intelligence reported. These readings suggest compressed matter construction, neutron star density. Rodriguez's voice filled the alien communication channels. Again. Fire torpedoes. 6 antimatter warheads launched from the Indomitable. They spread apart as they flew, each one targeting a different section of the alien formation. The warheads were not large by human standards. Each one was no bigger than a coffin. They hit the alien fleet like hammers striking glass. The first torpedo detonated in the center of a cruiser squadron. Matter and antimatter annihilated each other in a burst of pure energy. 4 alien ships simply vanished. The explosion was so bright that every screen in both fleets overloaded temporarily. The second torpedo found a battleship. The alien vessel's shields meant nothing against antimatter. The ship broke apart like a toy thrown against a wall. By the time all 6 torpedoes finished exploding, 20 alien ships were gone. Just gone. Vaporized by weapons the Zephyrians had never imagined. What are those weapons? Korthax shouted. Admiral, his science officer reported with a trembling voice. Those appear to be antimatter warheads. Perfect matter energy conversion. The power output is beyond our ability to measure. Rodriguez's laughter echoed through the alien fleet's communication systems. That was just our opening move. Prometheus, show them what the singularity cannon can do. The Indomitable's main gun had been charging during the torpedo attack. Now it fired for the first time in 30 years. The weapon did not shoot energy or projectiles. It shot space itself, a sphere of twisted space-time launched from the human Dreadnought. Where it passed, asteroids were pulled apart by tidal forces. When it reached the alien fleet, it struck a battleship directly. The alien vessel did not explode. It collapsed. The singularity weapon created a brief, artificial black hole that crushed the ship into a point smaller than a grain of sand. 3. Nearby cruisers were pulled into the gravitational distortion and torn apart. In less than 5 minutes, the Indomitable had destroyed 30 alien ships. Korthax stared at his tactical displays in horror. How is this possible? Humans are supposed to be primitive. Admiral, his communications officer said, the human captain is broadcasting again. Rodriguez's voice was calm as death. You made a mistake when you came here. You thought humans were weak because we wanted peace. You thought our ships were primitive because we tried diplomacy first. You were wrong on both counts. The Indomitable moved through the asteroid field like a predator. Her weapons tracked new targets as she spoke. We build our ships to last forever and hit harder than anything their size should manage. We name them after concepts that cannot be defeated. Indomitable, invincible, relentless. These are not just names, they are promises. Another spread of antimatter torpedoes launched. This time they targeted the alien fleet's command ships. Korthax watched, in terror as his flagship's sister ship disappeared in nuclear fire. "You wanted to integrate humanity into your empire," Rodriguez said as his ship continued its deadly work. "Congratulations. You're about to learn what human integration really means." The alien formation began to break apart. Ships scattered in all directions, trying to escape the lone human Dreadnought. But the Indomitable was faster than they expected. Her experimental engines pushed her through space at impossible speeds. "All ships retreat," Korthax ordered. "Full power to engines." But it was too late. The human ship was among them now, her hull crushing alien vessels like an avalanche of metal and fury. Her weapons fired again and again, each shot powered by pieces of her own structure. In 30 minutes of combat, the Indomitable destroyed 60 alien ships. The survivors fled toward the edge of the system, their formation shattered and their confidence broken. Rodriguez stood on his bridge, watching the enemy retreat. His ship was lighter now, parts of her hull consumed to power the weapons. But she was still fighting, still indomitable. "Prometheus," he said quietly, "send a message to Admiral Chen. Tell her the aliens have learned their first lesson about fighting humans." "What message, Captain?" Rodriguez smiled as he watched the alien. "Fleet run. Tell her we're just getting started." High Admiral Korthax tried to understand what had happened to his fleet. In 30 minutes, one human ship had destroyed 60 of his vessels. His perfect formation was scattered across the solar system like leaves in a storm. "Regroup," he ordered. "All ships form a sphere around the human vessel. We will surround it and destroy it with concentrated fire." His remaining ships moved to obey. 140 vessels formed a wide circle around the Indomitable. They stayed far apart this time, learning from their earlier mistake. Captain Rodriguez watched the aliens reorganize on his tactical display. "They're adapting," he said to Prometheus. "Good. It means they're taking us seriously now." "Captain," Chief Tanaka's voice crackled over the intercom. "I'm reading massive energy buildup from their fleet. They're preparing to fire everything. They have it once." Rodriguez nodded. "Then we better show them why that won't work. Prometheus, activate the Ragnarok protocol." The ship's AI was quiet for a moment. "Captain, are you certain? Once I begin the protocol, there will be no turning back." "I'm certain. Do it." Warning lights flashed red throughout the ship. The Ragnarok protocol was humanity's most desperate weapon system. It would convert the Indomitable's own hull into exotic matter for her weapons. Each shot would make the ship lighter and faster, but also more fragile. "All hands, this is the captain," Rodriguez announced over the ship's intercom. "We are now running on borrowed time. Every shot we fire takes pieces of our ship. We're going to burn bright and burn fast, make it count." The alien fleet opened fire. 140 ships shot their main weapons at the same target. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles converged on the Indomitable from all directions. The human ship vanished in a sphere of destroying light. Korthax smiled with sharp teeth. "Target destroyed. The human animals have finally learned their place." But his smile faded as the light cleared. The Indomitable was still there. Her armor glowed red-hot from the impact, but she was intact. More than intact, she was moving faster than before. "Impossible," Korthax roared. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." "Admiral," his science officer said with a shaking voice, "I'm reading strange energy patterns from the human ship. They appear to be converting matter directly into energy and feeding it to their weapons." The Indomitable's singularity cannon fired again. This time the artificial black hole was larger, more powerful. It struck 3 alien ships and pulled them into twisted metal sculptures before they vanished completely. Rodriguez stood on his bridge, feeling his ship change around him. Parts of the outer hull were being consumed to power the weapons. The Indomitable was literally eating herself to stay in the fight. "Prometheus, how long can we maintain this?" "At current consumption rate, approximately 15 minutes, Captain. But we will become significantly more dangerous as we continue." "Then let's make these 15 minutes memorable." The Dreadnought accelerated toward the nearest group of alien ships. Her engines burned brighter as she became lighter. The aliens tried to scatter, but she was too fast now. She moved through their formation like a shark through a school of fish. Her ram struck an alien battleship head-on. The Indomitable's neutron star hull cut through the enemy vessel like it was made of paper. The alien ship split in half, its crew screaming as atmosphere rushed into space. More antimatter torpedoes launched from the human ship's tubes. They spread out like deadly seeds, each one finding a different target. 8 alien ships disappeared in nuclear fire. Korthax watched. His fleet die ship by ship. This is impossible. How can one vessel destroy so many? His tactical officer had an answer he did not want to hear. Admiral, I don't think we're fighting a normal dreadnought. I think we're fighting something the humans built specifically for this kind of battle. Rodriguez's voice filled the alien communication channels again. He was broadcasting on every frequency, making sure his words reached every ship in both fleets. You want to know what you're really fighting? He asked. You're fighting 300 years of human warfare. Every battle we ever won, every enemy we ever defeated, every time someone told us we couldn't win and we proved them wrong. The Indomitable fired her main cannon again. The Singularity weapon had grown more powerful as the ship fed it more exotic matter. This time it created a black hole that consumed 5 alien ships before finally dissipating. We are the species that survived ice ages by learning to make fire. We survived plagues by learning medicine. We survived wars by learning to fight better than anyone else. And now you're going to learn why we never stay conquered. Prometheus's voice spoke privately to Rodriguez. Captain, I am detecting something interesting in the alien fleet's communications. What? They are calling for reinforcements, but more importantly, they are also sending messages to their homeworlds. They are describing what we are doing here. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Good. Let them tell everyone. Let the whole galaxy know. What happens when you try to make humans into slaves? The battle continued. The Indomitable danced between enemy ships, her weapons firing constantly. Each shot consumed more of her hull, but each shot also grew more powerful. She was becoming a weapon of pure destruction, held together by nothing but determination and fury. Chief Tanaka's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, hull integrity at 60%. We're burning through our mass faster than projected. How much longer? Maybe 10 minutes if we keep firing at this rate. Rodriguez looked at his tactical display. 80 alien ships remained. Still, too many for his fleet to handle when they returned, but maybe not too many for one very angry dreadnought. Prometheus, I want you to do something for me. Yes, Captain. I want you to hack into the alien communication network. Not just their ships, their entire network. Every relay station, every satellite, every computer system they have. That would require enormous processing power, sir. Use the ship's reactor. Use everything we have. The Indomitable's lights dimmed as Prometheus redirected power to his processors. Across space, invisible signals reached out to touch the alien fleet's communication systems. Then they spread further, jumping from ship to satellite to relay station. I am in their network, Captain. What would you like me to do? Rodriguez thought of his wife and daughter. He thought of every human who had died when the aliens revealed their true intentions. He thought of Admiral Chen and her fleet, trying to find a safe place to rebuild. I want you to tell them a story, Prometheus. I want you to tell them about humanity. Show them our history. Every war we fought. Every enemy we defeated. Every time we turned certain defeat into victory. Shall I also show them our cultural works? Art, music, literature? No, just the wars. Let them see what we're capable of when someone tries to destroy us. Across the alien network, Prometheus began broadcasting. He showed the Zephyrians the Battle of Marathon, where Greeks defeated a Persian army 10 times their size. He showed them Stalingrad, where humans fought to the death for every building. He showed them Gettysburg, the Alamo, Thermopylae, and 1,000 other battles where humans chose to fight impossible odds rather than surrender. The alien crews watched in growing horror as they realized what they had provoked. These were not primitive animals. These were the descendants of warriors who had spent centuries learning how to kill their enemies. Admiral, Korthax's communications officer said with terror in his voice, they're showing us their entire military history, every battle, every war, every tactical innovation they ever developed. Korthax stared at the images filling his screens. Humans with chemical explosives strapped to their bodies, charging enemy positions. Human pilots flying burning aircraft into enemy ships. Human soldiers holding impossible positions until the very last bullet. How many wars have they fought? He whispered. According to this data, approximately 15,000 major conflicts in the last 3,000 years, Admiral. And they won most of them. The Indomitable continued her deadly work. Her hull was consumed piece by piece to power weapons that grew stronger with every shot. She moved through the alien formation like death itself, untouchable and unstoppable. Captain, Prometheus announced, I have successfully infiltrated their entire communication network. Every ship, every station, every world in the Zephyrian hegemony is receiving our broadcast. Rodriguez nodded. Good. Let them all see what happens when you pick a fight with humanity. The singularity cannon fired one last time. The artificial black hole was enormous now, fed by half the ship's remaining hull. It consumed 20 alien vessels in a matter of seconds, pulling them into a gravitational nightmare that crushed them to atoms. Only 60 enemy ships remained. They were no longer attacking. They were fleeing in terror, broadcasting surrender signals on every frequency. But Rodriguez was not done. His ship was dying, but she still had one last surprise for the galaxy. Prometheus, he said quietly, prepare the final protocol. Let's show them what humans really mean by no surrender. The AI's voice was almost sad. Are you ready, Captain? Rodriguez looked around his bridge one last time. His crew sat at their stations ready to follow him into the dark. They were going to die, but their deaths would echo across the galaxy for centuries. I'm ready. Do it. The cow, Indomitable, began her final transformation, becoming something the Indomitable hung in space like a dying star. Her hull glowed with energy as the final protocol consumed the last of her structure. Captain Rodriguez stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display show 60 alien ships fleeing in terror. Prometheus, he said calmly, are you broadcasting this to the entire galaxy? Yes, Captain. Every species in the Zephyrian communication network is watching. Approximately 4 billion beings across 200 worlds. Rodriguez smiled. Good. Let them see what happens when you underestimate humanity. Chief Engineer Tanaka's voice came over the intercom one last time. Captain, hull integrity at 15%. We have maybe 2 minutes before complete structural failure. How much power can you give me for one final shot? Everything, sir. I can feed the entire ship into the singularity cannon. But Captain, there won't be anything left of us afterward. Rodriguez looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were young, brave, and about to die for their species. None of them looked afraid. Do it, Chief. Make this shot count. Across the galaxy, billions of alien beings watched their screens in horrified fascination. The human ship was consuming herself completely, turning every atom of metal and plastic into pure energy. They had never seen anything like it. High Admiral Korthax tried to understand what he was witnessing. His fleet had been shattered by a single human vessel. His mighty armada was running like frightened children. And now that vessel was preparing to sacrifice itself for reasons he could not comprehend. Admiral, his science officer reported, the energy readings from the human ship are beyond our instrument's ability to measure. Whatever they're planning, it's going to be enormous. Rodriguez opened a final communication channel to the fleeing alien fleet. His voice carried the weight of 3 centuries of human defiance. This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the Terran Dreadnought Indomitable. You came to our system expecting easy victory. You thought humans were primitive animals ready for slaughter. You were wrong. The Indomitable's structure groaned as more of her hull dissolved into energy. Her weapons grew brighter as they prepared for one impossible final shot. You wanted to know what human ships can do. You wanted to see how we fight when cornered. You wanted to integrate us into your empire. Congratulations. You got everything you asked for. Rodriguez paused, looking out at the stars where his enemies fled. Behind him, his crew worked with calm efficiency, preparing their ship's funeral pyre. My name is Marcus Rodriguez. I am a human being. My species has never learned how to surrender. We don't know how to quit. And we build our ships too. Make sure the galaxy remembers that. The Indomitable's final shot began building in her main cannon. The Singularity weapon drew power from the ship's disintegrating hull, creating energies that twisted space itself. To every species watching this broadcast, remember what you see here. Remember what happens when you try to make humanity bow down. Remember that we would rather die as free beings than live as your slaves. Prometheus's voice filled the bridge. Captain, Singularity cannon charged to maximum. Target locked on the center of the enemy fleet. Fire. The weapon discharged, with the power of a collapsing star. The artificial black hole that emerged was not small and controlled like the previous shots. This one was vast and hungry, fed by the complete destruction of humanity's first dreadnought. The black hole reached out across space like a living thing. It caught the fleeing alien ships and pulled them back toward destruction. 60 vessels tried to escape, but only a handful succeeded. The rest were crushed into nothingness by gravitational forces beyond imagination. High Admiral Korthax watched his remaining ships, less than 20 now, struggle against the artificial gravity well. His flagship's engines screamed at full power, barely managing to escape the event horizon. "Impossible," he whispered as his fleet died around him. "How can they have such weapons?" But the destruction was not the most terrifying part. As the black hole consumed the last alien ships, it began broadcasting. Every atom pulled into the war. Singularity carried a message transmitted across the galaxy by forces beyond normal physics. It was Rodriguez's voice, speaking to every civilization in known space. "This is humanity's first lesson. We have been watching you for decades, learning your weaknesses, preparing for your betrayal. You thought we were alone and defenseless. You were wrong on both counts." The broadcast continued as the black hole slowly dissipated, taking the last remnants of the Indomitable with it. But the message spread faster than light, carried by quantum entanglement across the galactic communication network. "The Terran Defense Fleet sends greetings to all civilized species. We regret to inform you that the Zephyrian hegemony has declared war on humanity. This was their mistake. We tried diplomacy. We offered friendship. You chose conquest instead." Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched their screens in growing terror. This was not the message of a defeated species begging for mercy. This was a declaration of war from beings they had vastly underestimated. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all galactic treaties and accords. We will no longer pretend to be weak for your comfort. We will no longer hide our true capabilities to avoid frightening you. The integration period is over. Admiral Sarah Chen received the transmission aboard her flagship, hidden in the outer system with the rest of the human fleet. She had watched the Indomitable's final battle with tears streaming down her face. Rodriguez and his crew had bought them something precious: time and terror. The message continued, now clearly being broadcast from multiple sources across human space. To the species of the galaxy, humanity extends one final offer of peace. Withdraw from our territory. Release our citizens from your labor camps. Return what you have stolen from us. Do this, and we will consider allowing you to continue existing." Chen smiled grimly as she realized the truth. The evacuation fleet had not been running away. They had been getting into position. Hidden human colonies across the galaxy were revealing themselves, each one armed with weapons that made the Indomitable look primitive. Failure to comply with these terms will result in humanity demonstrating why we name our ships after concepts that cannot be defeated. Invincible, relentless, implacable, unstoppable. These are not just names. They are promises. The transmission was reaching the farthest edges of the galaxy now, spreading through every communication network and relay station. Every species that had ever considered humans weak prey was learning the truth. The Galactic Council will meet on Earth in 30 standard days to discuss terms of surrender. Attendance is mandatory. Resistance is optional. Survival is not guaranteed. Korthax's surviving ships limped toward the edge of the solar system, their crews traumatized and their admiral broken. Behind them, Space began filling with new contacts. Human ships emerged from hidden bases and cloaked positions. Hundreds of them. Thousands. The evacuation fleet had been a deception. Humanity's real fleet had been waiting, watching, preparing for this moment. This concludes humanity's introduction to galactic politics. The broadcast finished. We look forward to more productive relationships with our neighbors. Please note that the next lesson will be significantly more comprehensive. 1 year later, the Galactic Council met on Earth as ordered. The representatives of 100 species sat in chairs built for beings much larger than humans, listening to Admiral Chen explain humanity's terms. "The war is over," she announced to the assembled delegates. "You lost. The question now is whether you want to negotiate your surrender, or whether you'd prefer to see what our real warships can do." Outside the meeting hall, a memorial to the indomitable orbited Earth. The inscription was simple. They expected easy victory. We gave them education instead. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was no longer pretending to be harmless. The integration period was over, and the real relationship between humans and aliens was just beginning. In the end, Captain Rodriguez had been right about one thing. The aliens got exactly what they asked for when they tried to integrate humanity into their empire. They just hadn't understood what human integration really meant. Now they did. And they would spend the rest of their existence making sure they never forgot it. The stars themselves seemed to whisper Rodriguez's final words. "We build our ships to make sure the galaxy remembers, and the galaxy would remember, forever,